Okay. I haven't played this. Rondo.
Let's get Sunrise Lane next to this one, because these are one's a re-implementation of the other, which is, where's Sunrise Lane? Oh my goodness.
Yes, there it is.
Oh, no.
I don't know the alphabet anymore. I only know Reiner Knizia. I only know A through F.
Yeah. All right. Rondo is C tier. I think it's a really great family weight game, but very, very tactical. There's no long-term planning. There's no long-term decisions. It's just like, what do I do in the moment that helps me right now? But some really satisfying, clever turns that can be had there. But Sunrise Lane is the same design, but with an added strategic layer and a more thematic production. So it's B tier. And this is the brand new version from Horrible Guilds. So yeah, they've done a really good job at bringing out, like, addressing all the weaknesses of this game, right? Like, it used to come in a huge box. Rondo was way too big, but Sunrise Lane is small and compact. It used to be very abstract and dry. Sunrise Lane is thematic and beautiful, and it used to be purely tactical. So very not a lot of depth. And Sunrise Lane has more depth and strategic considerations. I think this is a strong competitor against the likes of Ticket to Ride, where you are collecting cards and then you are deciding where to play them to build out along a route. But here, you can play multiple cards of the same color and stack multiple pieces into the same spots, and it's like a point multiplier. But it's only in the turn that you cover that space that you can add more buildings. And so you decide, like, okay, do I try to save up for more cards, hope I get more cards of this color, or just splurge right now and claim this more valuable spot before somebody else does? Because you can spread out from other players' buildings as well. Yeah, this is a really great game, really solid release from Horrible Guild, and a great update to what was a clever core concept. I'd highly recommend this if you're looking for a good family weight game, a new release this year. So
beauty. I'd very much like to play it. Ooh, Royal Visit.
Royal Visit. Don't do this to me. No, stop it. No, you're not even in the right. Oh my goodness.
I'll put it at C tier because I know you don't let me put it any higher. I think it's subtle. It's the rule that makes it work is that you can play any number of the same type of card. Or like this one type. You play one type of card, any amount of them. And so you're trying to, like, build up a good hand of, like, the jester, so you can, like, pull people your side that are, like, different, the wizard, so you can, like, warp him or whatever. It's not my favorite of Reiner Knizia's two-player games, but it's one that I quite like and I enjoy having because it's also very pretty. It is one of the most
it's gorgeous,
beautifully produced, like, roll-out cloth board, big chunky figures, really nice quality of cards, incredible color scheme, like. But apparently you don't like it.
Get out of here. This game is an A tier game for me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I love at least, right? I love this game. This is one of our favorite two-player games for my wife and I. Much like Lost Cities, it's pretty elegant, simple, easy to get into, with zippy turns. It's a tug of war game, right? And there are multiple things you're trying to tug on, multiple ways to win, and just some really, like you say, it's very subtle. The strategies can be subtle, but as we play it, we've played it quite a bit now. I don't feel like it's lost any luster. It hasn't lost any cleverness. In some ways, it's grown on us because you learn more strategies and you learn how to deal with the hand that you currently have. So I love this game. I'm honestly surprised that people don't love it as much as I do, because I think it's so good and the production's perfect. So there's, like, no reason why you shouldn't like it. As far as that side of it goes, right?
Yeah.
So, man, I love it's an A tier for me, but I can live with high B tier.
No.
Because
I'm happy to put it in A tier. Like, I thought I was making concessions. I was like, no, I like this game a lot.
you were hovering down by C tier. I'm like, what is going on here, man? This is a great game. So good.
Okay.
Where it should be.
Perfect. Okay. Now you're leading out with Samurai.
Ooh, okay. This one is a very strong A tier Reiner Knizia tile placement game for me. I think that other games have come since that in some ways kind of crowd in on its territory, such as Babylonia has some similar elements that scratch a similar itch in some ways. But this game is still fantastic. This is one of the earliest Knizia games I played. It's what made me, in a lot of ways, fall in love with Knizia designs, because it's a game about opportunities. You're trying to crowd in around these casts and have majority around the cast when it closes and completes and scores out. But you can let somebody else do all the heavy lifting for you. You let them surround it almost entirely, and then you come in with an even stronger tile to steal away the cast at the last minute. And those opportunities are just so satisfying to pounce on. So for me, Samurai is easy to recommend as a tile placement game. Very classic, timeless game. And, you know, maybe not my absolute favorite Reiner Knizia tile placement game, but it's high up there.
For me, Samurai is one of my very favorite.
Ooh.
I think
all right.
So sharp. So sharp, and fast, and I can introduce it to people and actually like have good games. I think it is one of the best tile layers that he's made, but I would agree to.
We can settle for S.
I will settle for S. I think it is better than Babylonia.
Ooh, no, can't agree there.
You love Babylonia. Let's go ahead and we'll just put it like we'll put it here. This is okay. Like the mid S. They're all equal. They're all equal.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, when they're that good, it's hard to rank them against each other, honestly. So cool.
San Francisco. I'm glad that we played out with this, because I played this again last night.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed it. It's subtle. It's a game where I am going to, like, from now on, I am going to teach the tiebreakers for the final scoring, because they're actually important.
Oh, they do matter. Yeah.
Matter. Like where we played last night, one guy got 8.5 points and one girl got 8.5 points, and she won because she had the most cable cars. But the only reason one guy got 8.5 points is because he lost on like 3 tiebreakers and had to take nothing or a negative on like 3 colors, and it was brutal.
That's awesome. But that's one of the things I love about this game is the scoring is so tight. Oh, yeah. You get 1 point, you get a half a point, you know, and then the tiebreakers are tight, and but like you say, it's so subtle that I think a lot of people don't appreciate its subtlety, and so for a lot of people it doesn't land for them. But I'm right there with you. Like, I had it at high C tier, so you have it at low B tier. It's like, okay, I'm basically right there, so I'm happy on the other side.
Perfect. Schotten Totten 2.
Schotten Totten 2. I probably have this ranked higher than you. I kind of had this next to the other Schotten Tottens, but where you have it in S tier. And I had Schotten Totten at like A tier originally, I think. It seemed like people who really love Schotten Totten and Battle Line don't love Schotten Totten 2 as much. But for me, where I'm like, I really, really, really like these games, and Schotten Totten 2 is a cool twist on it. There's asymmetric objectives and abilities, and they're not over the top. They don't overcomplicate things a ton. It's kind of just a spin on the core concept in a really interesting way. So for me, I love playing this game. So yeah, I think it at least deserves A tier, but what's your thoughts?
For me, one of the reasons I rank Schotten Totten so high is because I feel like it is the best like intro letter to Reiner Knizia and his design ethos, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it. I throw it into my bag, and if I get to a game night and there's a game that's wrapping up, or like they've just started a game and there's like me and one other person, I'm like, here, let's play Schotten Totten, and they're like, oh, I understand Reiner Knizia, like I get what he's going for now. And Schotten Totten 2, I wouldn't feel confident introducing it to someone who had not played Schotten Totten. Sure. And if I played Schotten Totten with someone, then I just want to play Schotten Totten with them again, because I feel like the base game is deep enough for me that I want to explore with people. So for me, it's like, it's still a great game, but I don't think I can think about it outside of the context of the original Schotten Totten.
That's fair. I think, you know, aside from the asymmetry, the battles in the middle, there's different objectives at each one, or different requirements at each one, right? And I think that's really interesting too. Like, oh, you got to play 4 cards here or 2 cards here, and so on. And to me, it's just Reiner iterating on the concept, and it's just a fun playground for me to explore. But yeah, I can see how we still recommend Schotten Totten over number 2.
Okay. The Siege of Runedar.
Siege of Runedar.
I'm leading out on this. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a high C. It has a very interesting cooperative system. I've only played this solo, and I had a good time, but it also took longer than I wanted it to.
Yeah.
The setup was a bit more than I wanted it to be, and the flow of it was good, but not amazing. It was like, I'm glad that I played this. And if someone was like, this is my favorite cooperative game, I'm like, dude, let's play. I want to enthusiasm.
I can get on board with that. I had it at B tier, probably on the lower end of B tier. Because for me, it's very interesting the way the deck building works. You're kind of all of you together are contributing towards constructing these cards, and once a card is built, then anybody can claim it on their turn. And so that core element of cooperation is really fascinating to me, as well as the way that you cycle through your deck. When you add a card to your deck, you have to remove one from your hand completely. You have to trash it, and then 2 of your 12 cards you don't see every round. You just randomly shuffle them and put 2 under your discard tile, and you're hoping that you're putting the bad cards down there, but that's not always the case. To me, that's the strongest part of this game, as well as the production is really cool with the walls and the
like the box is the board, and it's this 3D like castle. It's really cool.
It really elevates the experience, even if it takes up a little, more shelf space than we would probably like on our shelf. Yeah, that's painful. But it's such a cool concept. And yeah, I wish that it was a little bit shorter. I wish that there was a little bit more control for players, because you can just get absolutely wrecked by luck of the draw and luck of the dice rolls, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, right? And that kind of feels bad when you just get totally curb stomped by the game. But it's still one I enjoy playing. And I hope it gets an expansion, because I think it would benefit greatly from an expansion that speeds it up, but also gives you a little bit more flexibility of how to win the game.
Okay, totally fine with that. Space Worm, and then I think the next 2 are just me.
Space Worm, yes. I think this was only published in the UK, so it's very hard to track down. This is a roll and write, but it's actually quite interesting. I think it's higher C tier roll and write for me, above the other roll and writes for sure. This is basically Snake, the roll and write, and with really mean drafting, actually. Because you pick a die, and then you move your snake that many in that direction, and if it has like a cherry on it, you might get a bonus if you eat a cherry at the time. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played it. It has 4 different sheets. It's a good little game, honestly. If somebody has the chance to play it, I'd say yes, play it. Or if somebody asked me to, I'd absolutely play it. It's one of the more interesting roll and writes, in my opinion, but still not one that I'm dying to return to all the time. Space Worm.
Totally fair enough. All right. Wait, have you played Spectaculum?
I have.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to lead out with Spectaculum, and I'm going to say it's like high C tier. There's a lot of really interesting things with it's kind of a distillation of cube rails and interesting like stock market manipulation. And a very, very small box. That makes me so happy. But I also just hate the art design. It's like it's too uncanny valley for me to be really just like on board with the kookiness. I don't like it.
I played this at least a couple times because I know some people really, really love this game. To me, it's a high D tier though. So I think if we're gonna compromise, I say low C tier for sure. Because for me, I think Cube Rails games are more interesting than Spectaculum has been with my plays of it. It just feels very not as exciting, a little too procedural. It's just like, all right, are you gonna place a bet, or are you gonna like invest? Are you going to sell out, and then are you gonna extend something? And to me, there's not enough drama. There's not enough spice there for me to really appreciate it that much. So, but I can see how people love it. It's very simple. It's very interactive and shared incentive stuff going on. So it's got some little neat things.
Fair enough. Star Trek Expeditions.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who's wondering, yes, Reiner Knizia did make a movie tie-in cooperative game or J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, and it is a solid D tier.
Solid D.
Again,
solidly low D.
This is one I only played solo, and it was fine. I was happy to have played it, but there's usability issues that are like would make playing not solo not fun. I think the hero clicks figures especially are just. I don't like them. I think they're just not good. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's Star Trek. It's fine.
If they made a new version of this based on the Star Trek original series animated, like, ooh.
Maybe high D tier. Maybe low C tier. All right.
You ready to
Stephensons
target on you?
Oh, on me. I think this is an A tier game. It's it's very opaque. Some people are really going to bounce off of it. And I've had plays of it that didn't like really sing because I played with people who bounced off of it. But when you do have with the right group who's okay with like a really opaque game with some weird mean and kind of cloudy fuzzy stuff going on, then it's a lot of fun. It's like a choir in the sense that you're spreading out these rails and you're earning stocks in them. But when I choose to advance a rail in a certain direction and you have stock in it, you can vote for a veto. And then there's an auction that goes once around where everybody who has stock in that rail can bid with their own stock to change the direction. And the highest bidder gets to decide the ultimate direction that hexagonal shaped train is going, or the space. And there are some very clever ways that you can undermine people either in their stock value or in the direction they're trying to take the train. And and it's a cool game. I think it's underappreciated. It's not one I would want to republish because Grail Games already tried it with Ian O'Toole and it didn't do amazing. So what else can you do with it?
Yeah, I think Stephensons Rocket is the best game that I don't like that much. It's so smart. It's so good, but I would be just fine never playing it again because I'm one of those people that kind of bounced off of it because it's so opaque, and I just like there's something about the core systems that my brain is just like no, that's not us. I'm just like, okay. But like,
it's kind of hard to teach too because it is so opaque. But have you played it more than once, or how many times?
And that's why I'm like, I'm okay with it being an A tier because I think it's like it's a game that would reward you if you put in the effort.
I could see maybe if you gave it another chance, I could see you potentially liking it because I think it fires on a lot of cylinders in really interesting ways. So I like Stephensons Rocket.
One of my buddies has a copy and he really liked it, and we're going to play it again eventually. And I'm looking forward to it. So yeah,
I'm excited to hear what you think.
Strozzi. Have you played?
I haven't played this.
Okay,
nope.
Strozzi, C tier. It's fine. For people who like really simple and really like sharp auctions, then Strozzi is going to be rank higher for them because you have three options when it comes to bidding. You can either bid on something to make the ship you get faster, to make the goods it carries more valuable, or to just win the card. But like that's it. That's all that you get. And the auctions are very, 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 very tight, very simple, and it's good. It's solid.
Nice.
I'd play it again. Sudoku Challenge, I cannot say the same.
Oh man.
Sudoku Challenge takes the joy of puzzles and it turns it into, there's the semblance of meanness there where you purposefully put a number to make the puzzle impossible so that someone else can't score big on like
it's a shared board or something.
You're building out a Sudoku puzzle, and if you put a tile down wrong and someone notices, then you lose your turn, which is like, okay, that sucks. But if later in the game you're like, oh, that tile actually can't be there, then it's like, oh, guess we're not going to finish the puzzle, and the game ends when you can no longer legally place any new pieces. And so you don't get the satisfaction of actually finishing the Sudoku, which is just like, it's weird. It's really, really weird.
That sounds weird.
It just kind of doesn't work, but it's also like, it's F for fine.
F for fine. All right. Sumatra. Is this one you've played?
Yes.
Sumatra. I think it's a really solid C tier game for me. It's interesting. Yeah, I like that. It's got like really fleshed out raw style scoring where there's all these different ways you can score, and I really wish the player boards kind of reminded you better of different ways you score. It gives you nothing, which is kind of makes it a little trickier to teach. But it's not too bad. I mean, if you have a good teach, then you can remember it, But it's cool because you either advance forward or you just take a tile and you're this little tour group going through the island. And when somebody wanders off ahead, then the tour guide's like, oh no, I better catch up. And then everybody else has one more chance to take a tile before they have to catch up to the person, pushing them ahead. And then if you're falling behind, then you have to move ahead eventually. You can't just linger forever and keep taking tiles. And then if you're the first to move to the next area, then you reveal a bunch of new tiles and you get first dibs on those options. But the scoring is what really makes this game, because I'm not going to go into the details. There's too much, but it is a lot. It's kind of a set collection drafting game, and I think it's surprisingly good. Just not an amazing game. Yeah. And it pales in comparison to another similar game that came out around the same time. So,
are you talking about Sushi Go?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about another Knizia game.
Ooh, that we haven't talked about yet.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, I like Sumatra. I like it. It's a great drafting game.
Yeah, and it's pretty.
Yeah, it's very pretty. It's decent. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's fine.
All right. Sushizaken Gokovak.
Also known as Guaharar in the Sushi Bar, also known as Sushi Bar. Have you played this?
No. Nope.
Oh, this is D tier for me. I know some people really love this, and it's kind of sort of similar to Pickamino in some ways, or Heckmech. But to me, this is not as fun. It kind of evokes a similar feeling to Age of War, in that it can be very punishing in a lot of ways. And it's like if you don't thread the needle with your roll and you barely miss it, then you could just be absolutely wrecked. So I played it a few times. I really tried to give it a fair shake, but I didn't love it. So it's okay. I'll play it if you insist.
Solid. Tabula Rasa. This is me, right?
Also
known as Knights of Charlemagne. This is, I think, a C tier. The claim to fame for it is that it does 3-way Schotten Totten. And it kind of does that. It kind of does that in an interesting way, with a really interesting way of doing ties, which is very significant for a 3-player game. I've only played this once, and I want to play it again. I have a feeling that it's not going to stick around forever for me, but I really enjoyed getting just the taste of like a good 3-player like Schotten Totten, because I love Schotten Totten. So.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I would try it. All right. Ooh, another legendary title, Taj Mahal, one of his classics. This, to me, is another grower. It grows on you the more you play it. I think it's an S tier, Knizia, personally.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
It can be punishing. Okay, so if you're not playing smart, if you're not picking and choosing your battles, then you can just get raked over the coals by your opponents and have a bad time. It's also a little bit opaque in how you score and how you strategize and stuff. It's like Beowulf. It's like Heckmechem Kartnek. It's like Karate Samadi, where you're playing a bidding game of chicken with other players. But there's so many clever little subtle nuances to this game that are so satisfying to explore. It very much rewards repeat plays. I feel like an experienced player can just wreck new players at this game every time. So yeah, I mean, ideally you play it with people who are of equal skill or experience. But my goodness, what a classic game! One that maybe will take more plays to appreciate than his other highly ranked classics.
Yeah. I think of Taj Mahal as a strenuous hike. It's something that, like, it's all about knowing how to pace yourself, taking breaks halfway up the mountain, because if you try and go the whole way, you'll just kill yourself.
Yeah.
But when you get to the top, it's so satisfying to get there and just to like you have a view of your kingdom. Everything the light touches is yours, except for that dark spot over there where you and your buddy both threw down 8 cards and got nothing from it. It's just like, ooh. It's so good. It's Taj.
Good stuff. We like Taj.
Speaking of Taj.
Tajuto
is a very like high C tier. I think.
Nope. Oh. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I think it's subtle.
Explain yourself.
I think it's subtle and finding ways to break the rhythm of building the pagodas is very interesting. Because if you just, it's easy enough to pull out what you know to be the next size of pagoda or to pull out a base. But if you pull out something that's slightly larger, and then you can plan your next couple turns around being able to place that for free, while also denying people like spaces for prayers. I think it's really cool, but it takes people willing to engage with that puzzle and think about it in different ways rather than just doing what feels most obvious.
Oh, totally. If you just play like the path of least resistance with this game and just do whatever is most obvious, then you're probably not going to get much out of it, right? No. This is one that has gotten better and better for me with more plays. I think it at least deserves to be B tier.
Oh, I'm happy to do that. Happy to.
Yeah, this is a great game, honestly. You're drawing out pagodas out of the bag, and it's kind of dexterity in the sense that you're feeling for like, which size do I want? But then there are 8 different colors, so you don't know what color you're getting. But as more colors come out, you know the probability of you getting the color or colors that you want. And so you're playing the odds, you're taking risks, and you're trying to, like you say, maximize your turn efficiency and your action efficiency, because you can take more than one action in the same turn, but it costs you for each extra action that you take, it costs you exponentially more. And but then there are bonus tiles and upgrades you can get to make it cheaper, or there are different strategies you can pursue, like I'm going to save money with future tile purchases, or I'm going to save money doing extra actions. And now that I've played this maybe 5-ish times at all player counts, I'm like, man, this game is so good. It just gets better the more I play it. I think it grows on you. And the thrill of drawing from the bag and playing to the probabilities and sometimes taking big risks and getting burned, and other times just like pulling a miracle out of the bag is so satisfying. I love this game. So yeah, B tier for me.
Solid. Tatari.
Tatari. Oh my goodness. This game shocked me. Okay. I think Tatari is at least B tier Knizia dice game. And I'm gonna say it's arguably a top 3. So if you're gonna say A tier, I'm not gonna fight you on it.
I'm gonna put an A tier.
Wow, what a game. Okay, so this is kind of sort of a re-implementation of Zombie Mania, which we haven't gotten to yet, but I'm gonna say there's a fairly large gap in how I would rank these games against each other.
Do you want to rank Zombie Mania right now?
F tier.
Yeah.
This is the one I mentioned was broken, because you're trying to rid the zombies off your board, and whoever does that and survives the whole round with still no zombies getting put back on their board wins the game, right? Well, first time we played this, it's kind of hard to give zombies to other players intentionally, so it's easier to just get rid of them to the main central board. But somehow we stretched the game out an extra like 30 minutes beyond what it should have been, passing the zombie to the player who was about to win. And it was unbelievable how many rolls we got. And I was at that point, I was like, okay, this game, I mean, obviously this isn't super likely this will happen every time, but for us, the game was broken. And there was some interesting dice stuff going on, but I was like, I really don't want to play this anymore. And so when Tatari was kind of announced as a Japan re-implementation of it, with a different theme, it seemed like it was the same game, but then I heard that some rules were tweaked, and finally I broke down. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I was shocked how freaking good this game is. Why don't you share more about Tatari?
Well, it has the same dice mechanic as Heckmech, where you roll the dice and you choose one value to take out of the box lid that you're rolling into. And then you can choose to either stay there or to roll again. But if you roll again, you have to take out a different die face, and you take out all the dice of that face. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get die that have numbers on them to add up to what it goes like what
7 or higher.
7 or higher, and then you want dice that have doll faces on them, because if you get a high enough like point or like number threshold, then you can get rid of the number of dolls that you rolled.
But it balances out against however many dolls are on the number board that you rolled. So if the 8 board has 4 dolls on it and you rolled 1 doll and you rolled an 8, then you are taking 3 of the dolls to bring that total down to 1, whatever you rolled.
It's beautiful. But I think what's really important about it is if you roll a 12 or higher, or is it 11? I think it's
11.
It's 11 or higher. The dolls that you get rid of get out of the game.
Yes.
And so it just gradually whittles down the number of dolls until finally someone's able to like get rid of their dolls, and everyone like same thing. You have to wait an entire round, but people can give you your dolls if they roll ones, a 1 and a doll, and and they
have to at least get rid of some on a board,
you have
right?
To at least like put some into one of the shrines on the board.
So again, it's hard to do, but it is doable.
Yeah. And it's fun. Like, I think the
so
theme does a lot because the dolls are really creepy and I want them out of my life as fast as possible. And you might be able to see in this picture a little bit, like the box is kind of screen printed and it has like a doll face at like a Dutch angle that catches the light. It's like a literal jump scare from a board game box, which is just incredible.
It's such an unsettling game in a lot of ways, but honestly, so shocked to see like how much better it is. And I think it comes down to those boards, right? And the how you're trying to offload them onto various boards. And there's such an interesting ebb and flow. Sometimes the lowest, easiest board to reach has $1 million on it, and you're like, I gotta get past this. I have to roll 8 or higher. Otherwise, if I roll 7, then I'm taking all these dolls. And sometimes the boards are all crowded with dolls, and you're like, shoot, I need to get to 11. Just to get rid of some dolls. And other times it's wide open season, and it's funny when it's so easy to offload dolls and somebody just falls on their face and can't even
it's hilarious.
Can't even roll 7, or can't even roll a single doll, and like, oh my goodness, what a good game. Oh, and when you bust, you take all of the dolls from the board with the most, and oh my gosh, this for me is shockingly a top 3 Knizia dice game.
Just don't play it with someone who can tell you literally every probability of everything and does so. Like, it kind of sucks the fun out of it.
I could see that. See that.
Through the Desert. Ooh, Through the Desert is going to be like high A tier or low S tier. I haven't played it in a while, but I think it's great. I think it might even be better than that. I like it significantly more than Blue Lagoon. It does a lot of different things, but the important thing is that you're making these trails or these trains of different colored camels that can never interact or cross over with a different player's train of the same colored camels. But you get to place 2 camels on your turn instead of just 1. And I love the way that messes with the flow of it, because what you want to be doing with those 2 camels is building out 2 point scoring opportunities that people leave you alone with. But what happens is that someone takes both of their camels to cut you off on one, and then someone else takes both of their camels to cut you off on the other, and you're left with nothing. And it's incredible.
So good. It goes back to that dilemma that you can put people in, where it's like, okay, you've got people threatening you on 2 different sides and you can't have everything. That's like the premise of Reiner designing this game. He's like, it's like life, where you want to have everything, but you have to decide. You only get 2 actions. But I think it definitely deserves to be higher than A tier.
Yes.
I've been on the fence about this between S and Gold, so I think it at least deserves S tier. Maybe
I'm happy with Gold.
Yeah, it sounds like you just need to play this game more, because honestly, this game is phenomenal. One of his best tile layers, and as you say, it's all about the 2 actions. Like, there's so much you can do that you could do, but only 2 actions that you can take each turn. And so clean, so elegant. It's getting a new edition plus a new expansion from publisher All Play and a Kickstarter later this month. So definitely keep your eye out on that. I think if you haven't tried Through the Desert, it's definitely worth it. I do tend to prefer it with more players. I think my first play of this was at 2 players and I wasn't too impressed. But that was also very early on in my Knizia journey. And when I played it with more people, I saw the interaction there, and that's what made me fall in love with this game.
I like it with the full zoo, 5 players. It's madness, and I never win, and I love it so much.
It's so good.
We've come to the big boy. Should we just grab this and Yellow and Yangtze at the same time?
Like, yeah. I put them together personally, so
I'm just gonna I'm gonna preempt this because I know where they're going.
Yep, it's got to be. Yeah, these are my 2 favorite Knizias. So yeah, I think they deserve to be top of the pack. Okay, the man with the mouse.
The man with the mouse. I mean, it's like San Francisco. If we make the same number of skyscrapers, whoever got in first is getting that bonus point, right?
The way of the Knizia.
I just want to tick people off. I want them to look at this. I want them to glance at this tier list and be like, "No, Tigris and Euphrates isn't in the number 1 spot. This is invalid." Like,
well, hopefully people don't. I guess give too much weight to the order of these as much as we do, but
like they're all equal. We love our children equally.
They're all beautiful.
He loves his children equally.
He loves his children equally. My goodness, what can we say about these games? They're civilization games with a depth of strategy that you will not find in any other board game. I think for how elegant and simple the rule set is. My goodness,
like it's just incredible the way that it calls you to balance out everything that you're doing. And that means that you're always going to be in conflict with everyone at every single point of the game. And so the interaction and like the cutthroat nature of these is just incredible. Like they're very much sibling designs that give different feels. Yellow and Yangtze is much more ponderous, much more about like finding ways to realign and move elegantly. And Tigris and
tactical
is like, I will break you. I will break your bones. I'll punch you in the nose. I'll put you in the river. Just things explode. And Yellow and Yangtze is like, we're a bit more civilized here.
Yeah, I think Tigris and Euphrates very much emphasizes the wars, the conflicts more, and Yellow and Yangtze emphasizes the tactics and the pagodas more, and how those can really move around the board fairly often. And obviously, Tigris and Euphrates is square grid based, and Yellow and Yangtze is hex grid based, which offers some interesting twists. But my goodness, 2 of my favorite games ever designed: Tigris and Euphrates and Yellow and Yangtze.
Like Yellow and Yangtze is better. Tigris.
Yeah, for me it's my mood. I know some people pick sides, but for me it's just my mood. So, or I'll just alternate between them, even though that's kind of confusing.
Oh yeah, they're just absolutely stellar. Tower of Babel. I'm going to go ahead and take this one because you've got like 4 coming up that are just...
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
I think Tower of Babel is like, I don't know, mid, it's pretty mid.
Yeah, I agree.
Mid C tier. It has a really interesting central mechanic where you're working together to build, to make sets of different like suits, and every turn people offer you numbers of cards to add so that they can get pieces in the area majority around the board. And if you reject their offer, then they get points for all the cards that they offered, which is so cool. It's so cool. But the game is so beige. It's so beige. And I know it's a little shallow, but I can't get over it. I try my best, but it just doesn't quite. I can't do it.
Yeah, I think if the box was smaller and the presentation was popped more, I'd like it even more. But I agree. I think it's a C tier experience with some really cool twists in there, but nothing about it in particular stands out as like, oh, this is a truly memorable moment of this game or like feature. But it's cool. It's cool that you can, earn area influence for contributing cards to a build, or you can offer like a trade, and you give up your buildings to the person who is taking the turn, but then they give you the token that comes with that build, which can earn you points in a different way. You're trying to collect sets of those. So I think this could definitely be improved by a new version with a better presentation, ideally a much smaller production, and maybe some added twists to it that really enhance what makes it sing. So
and there is like a newer, smaller, twistier version of this that
Planet Rush.
It just doesn't look as good. I think it's a little went the way of being more restricted, and I don't know. I'd be willing.
But apparently that's closer to the original, Reiner Knizia intended rules, because that trade-off of like getting points for being rejected, that was a publisher rule, which a lot of people love. But the Tower of Babel also introduces like some power cards that people hate, so they kind of
don't play with the power cards.
yeah. So hopefully this gets a new edition someday. I don't love it enough to really seek after it personally as a publisher, but maybe I do have an idea that was interesting for it, so maybe I'll talk myself into it someday.
Okay. Ooh, we're on the last row. We're coming up. These next 4.
All right. Yeah, all right. So Treasures of Nokbe. We haven't talked about this other companion game yet, Winner's Circle, but it reminds me in a lot of ways of Winner's Circle.
Really?
Treasures of Nokbe. Yeah, actually, it's a good game. I rank it as B tier. I think it's one of Reiner's stronger family weight games, and that's who you should play it with, either like casual gamers or as a filler with gamers, or with your family, non-gamers, that kind of thing. This is a really good game. So you roll the die and you decide which racing character to assign it to. And sometimes you roll a bad result and you assign it to a character you don't care about. And other times you assign it to a good result and you assign it to the character you do care about. Basically, instead of betting on a character winning the race, you're just handed at the beginning a card that gives you 3 different characters that you want to win, and you'll earn points based on how they're placed. And so it's a lot like Winner's Circle, but it streamlines out the betting, and it replaces that with like some really zany, chaotic, kooky things that can happen during the game. There are traps spaces that will send you, basically you're all trying to run away from, I think you've all collectively robbed this ancient ruin, and you've awoken the monster within, and so now it's trying to like snatch up all of you and destroy you, kind of Indiana Jones style, right? And so you're trying to run away from that, and every round it'll move closer to all the characters, and if it reaches a character, then it stops and it kills that character off, and that character basically gets last place, and then the next character gets next last place. And so you either play until it catches everybody but the last person, or you play until one person reaches the end of the board. But if you cause a character to fall into a trap, then it will reset right in front of the monster, and then it's like it could have been so far ahead, but somebody rolls the perfect number, and this character hasn't moved yet this round, so it's not locked in, and so you can still move it. And then you move it onto a trap and set it back again. And then you flip the board and play with even like a second race that you score out as well, but it has even crazier, kookier stuff. This game is a blast, honestly. I wish we had an English. Well, this version I think is English and Korean, but you have to acquire it from Mandu Games, and it's not easy to get if you're in North America. So really great, solid family weight game.
I mean, you talked about Winner's Circle enough.
Let's do it. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that?
I love Winner's Circle. I've got a group of guys that I play with. There were 6 of us. One guy moved away, so there's 5 of us now. And like, this is a riot every single time. And we play 3 races every single time. One of the criticisms I hear about it is that 3 races is too long. And I'm like, I don't know. The 3rd race is when things start getting real juicy. You know how people
double points, right?
Horses, and you got the secret bets going on, and it's double points, and it's just like, it's exciting, but you need the build up to that. And I just think it's hilarious when 3 players have secret bids on a horse, and you roll it, and you're like, oh sweet, let's move white. And you're like, ah, sweet. And then the next round comes around, and one of them rolls it, and they're like, oh sweet, move white. And they're like, I'm going to move black. And then it goes to the next person, and they roll the same thing. You're like, move white. And they're like, I'm going to move blue. And you're like, oh no. Oh no.
And then if they had bet their 0 on it, and they choose the perfect time to just backstab that horse, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Realize that like you thought 3 of you were going to be helping this horse, and it's just you alone. And that horse is not crossing the finish line. I have a great time in this game every single time, and it's so good. Really enjoy it.
I think I do agree with the criticism. Like, I wish it was a little bit faster, a little bit shorter, but that doesn't like hurt my enjoyment of the game. I don't think it's just, it means it gets played a little bit less than I'd like to play it, because it takes up more time. But yeah, I really love Winner's Circle. The betting, the secret betting, it's a roll and move game where the rolls are exciting and where you assign the dice is exciting, and it's brilliant. I think there are a lot of betting games coming out lately that are very popular, but Winner's Circle still holds its own in a lot of unique and fascinating and entertaining ways.
Okay. Turtle Mania.
Turtle Mania. Okay, so if this were like a just your family, just your kids, like what are the best Knizia games for your kids list, this would be ranked pretty high, right? But I have to look at it from ranked against all these other games, and so this is one that is a D tier for me. It's as an adult, you're gonna get nothing out of this game. It's like what if Kabuto Sumo, but you have no decision of where to push in the disc. You have to push it in through your gates. And that's the game. But you actually don't want to knock off turtles. And so there's honestly like no decision space to this game. You can kind of sort of influence how the turtle goes through your gate a little bit, and that might influence like, oh no, turtles fell off, but you're trying to you draw a turtle out of the bag, you push it through your gate, and you hope nothing falls off because you want the least turtles. You have to collect the ones you knock off. But it's a really good kids game, honestly. Like I can play this. I introduced this to my 2-year-old and my 3-year-old when she was 3, and they had a riot, and we've played it lots of times with them. So it's a really, really good kids game, just not a good adult game. It's not going to be that fun for you as an adult, but your kids will love it and you'll enjoy them having a good time with it.
Okay. Tutankhamen.
Is this still me as well?
Yep.
All right. This is C tier for me. Tutankhamen is a little bit like Whale Riders and Sumatra, but I don't like it as much as those two. There is a cool core premise here. You kind of move your ship as far as you want along the river towards the end of the line, and wherever you stop, you pick up that tile and you add it to your collection. And it's a collection majority game. So whoever has the most of a certain token, when that token, the last one is taken, it scores out, or when it just goes off the board, it scores out, and then whoever has the most gets the most points, and I think second most gets half. So it's cool to watch your opponents collect these tokens and decide, okay, do I really want to leapfrog all of these opportunities? Because you can't go backwards. Or maybe you can go one backwards, but you can't go very far backwards. And pick up this valuable token now, or do I hope that it stays there and just pick up, closer stuff along the way? The new production is very pretty, but it also kind of works against the experience because it's visually very busy. So it's hard to see, the tokens you're going for and the tokens your opponents have, because it's just so like loud and noisy and colorful. This new version introduces some like god powers, which I don't like at all. Like, I think they detract from the experience. And often, like, when you can like pick up a god tile and it triggers a power, right? And rarely is there a time where you're like, this is a power I really want. It's usually just like so situational and so less clear of like, how can I put this to good use, that usually players are just passing right over it. So I think it's one I would recommend people try if they get the chance, but it's not one I'm saying like, oh, you got to seek this out. You got to play this. It's so cool. It's nice, but and I think it's better with more players for sure.
Yeah.
But I got rid of my copy, so Tutankhamen.
Fair enough. Vampire.
This had a kind of newer edition that almost got published, kind of like Silver Screen. It was in development. The artwork was being done. It actually got kickstarted, I think, and the Kickstarter failed. The new version was like Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes or something.
Oh yeah,
and
it's that same company.
Yeah, from Asmati Games. Yeah, they've had.
Yeah, no, it was Asmati. That's right.
Yeah, it was Asmati. So, but yeah, I mean, so this is interesting. When we were looking at games to publish that ended up being the Criminal Capers collection, we looked at a lot of these lighter Knizia card games, and one of them was Revenge of the Lawn Gnome. So that's actually my only experience with this game, and it was like the weakest one that we tried by far. This is F tier for me, honestly. Yeah, it's like a melding set collection game, but I showed it to like my mother-in-law, who's like very, very casual gamer, right? And none of us thought it was very interesting. We all just thought it was kind of blah. So not very memorable. I don't remember much about it, but it definitely didn't stand out. So
okay. All right. I think these next three are because you haven't played Yangtze, right?
I have played all of these except for the ones that aren't published yet or aren't released. Yeah. So I played them all.
I'm throwing that to A tier.
Okay.
Delightful little dexterity puzzle.
It is.
I would love like an expansion that just gives me different bits, but I could also just go and get different bits from all the games that I have. Play Viking See-Saw with those. But the bits that it does have are balanced very interestingly against each other. I have not had a bad game with this, and no one that I have played this with has not wanted to play it again immediately.
Why are there people out there? Why are there human beings out there who don't enjoy this game? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Because it's hilarious. It's a crowd pleaser. The teeter-tottering of the seesaw as you stack onto the high end and just pray that it doesn't teeter after you add your token, or when somebody like gets a little too aggressive and they accidentally push down on the high end as they're dropping their token and they flub it up, because these pieces are small, they're different weights, they're different textures. There's so much nuance to this game that but every time it's come out to like a very thrilling climax where you're sure that the next token that somebody adds is going to make it tilt, and they're just going to end up with this really disaster of a turn, and then it doesn't, and then and then when it goes around like 3 rounds like that where nobody causes it to tilt, you're like, what is going on? I thought I understood physics and now I don't, and it's brilliant. It's so good.
If it existed in like Target, I would have multiple copies in my closet
handing them out. Oh man, what a good game. Yeah, I had it high B tier, but at low A tier, I've been trying to talk myself into that honestly lately, and I'm glad you did. So
good. Whale Riders.
I say high B for this. This is a great action economy game. Nothing very flashy about it. I think a lot of people have praised it and caused other people to go in with high expectations, and then they come away disappointed. So that maybe that's our fault, those who have praised it too much. But I think it's so solid. And I played it at 2 players and had a blast. I played it at 5 and 6, and I think I probably prefer it 2 to 4ish. But it's great. Do you race ahead and try to get the juicy stuff down the road, or get to the pearls at the end with your money and try to buy those up quickly, or do you hang back and buy the tiles that are right in front of you, right? And how do you use your 2 actions per turn? It's great. I love this game. I think it's a fantastic filler and gorgeous art by Vincent Dutrait. My goodness.
It's beautiful. It's got a slim box. It's easy to teach, quite quick to play. Scales really well. Like there's no reason for me to ever get rid of it, even if it doesn't light my world on fire.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
But speaking of things kind of unexpectedly lighting my world on fire. Whale Riders, the card game. I unexpectedly enjoyed like a very solid C tier that makes me want to seek out trendy. Just because it was so fast. It was so fast, so simple. And I just love fast and simple Reiner Knizia card games. And I mean, in this, you're trying to, you play one card at a time until like enough cards of a single set have been played. And those cards score for the people who have them, and everything else is discarded. But the different cards are worth different amount of points, and the higher numbered cards need larger sets to score. And so there's this really great shared incentive of are we doing pearls? Are we building up to pearls? And some person throws out like a seaweed that only takes like 3, and they're like, well, I'm not going to do pearls anymore either. I'm not going to do pearls. And then all the pearls get discarded. It's like, we had something special there. Unfortunately, the production of this is not the best. There is one card of each good type that has 2 instead of 1 icon, but it's easy to miss those. There's a card of each type that has a storm and like deletes all the cards that have been played of that type. It's really easy to miss that. And it's just like, oh, it's just not ideal for what is a super simple game that needs to be really readable.
Yeah, like very pretty cards, but the graphic design definitely kind of puts a dampener on it. And probably the original theme is more fun, I'd say. This one feels like they kind of just shoehorned this new version of this game in with Rail Riders, the board game, and that Kickstarter.
They didn't even use a different cover art. They just zoomed in a bit. Like
low budget. But I mean, the in its favor though, the new event cards that come with it are really cool. I like playing with those.
Because
those are solid.
Simple. It was just fun to have like a little variety, and you're like,
little rules tweak each round.
Kelp here, and you're like, oh, okay,
yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a very good casual card game. It's not going to light anybody's world on fire, but it's surprisingly good as a filler. I think it deserves to be ranked among those other very solid card games. That's a good call.
The next 2 are just you.
Weiner Walzer. This is pretty high C tier for me, actually. This is a tile laying game, and it's never been released in North America, tragically, but it has seen a kind of European version, the original, and it's seen a Japanese version, which is very got an anime vibe to it, for better or worse. And basically, everybody has a supply of tiles, and you draw, I think you have one that you can, you draw one from your personal supply that you can put out. And it's either going to be like a really good or a really bad male, or a really good, really bad female, or somewhere in between, right? And you want to place your male next to a female. And I think as soon as one of the tiles in this square grid is completely surrounded, then they will dance together. The strongest male will dance with the strongest valued female. Okay. And then they will score for the owners of those tiles. They will score the collective sum of those points. And then you flip them face down and they will never score again. This game is it's so good. My goodness. Like, I can put out my strong 5 male, and this is just like the most dashing, the most coveted, the most sought after male suitor at the entire ball, right? And I'm like, I'm going to be getting good points from this. But then my opponents can surround this with like old ladies, these old hags that are just grumpy and worth 0 points, and nobody wants to dance with them. And if that's the only lady surrounding my male suitor, then I'm dancing with that old hag, which means I'm getting 0 points from their tile, and they're getting 5 points from my tile. And we both score the full amount of points, but like, I'm getting nothing out of this exchange, right? And then on top of that, the board starts with all these little food tiles. And if you place a tile, one of your dancer tiles on a food tile, you claim the food, and it's kind of set collection thing going on. So it's like, do I go for the food or do I go for the dancer points? And just a very charming game, a very solid experience. This one, you could talk me into it being a low B tier because it's that good, and I want to play it more. I've only played it a couple times, and it's been great every time. Just really funny game.
Okay. Witchstone.
Let's put it at the lowest space of D tier. It's not F tier. I would play it again if you insisted, but this is a co-design. You haven't played this, right?
No, I haven't. I at SaltCon last month, I got it out. I hadn't read the rule book.
Yeah.
Because my buddies were like, hey, we've been playing the games we've been playing. Like, what do you want to play? And I'm like, I want to try Witchstone. And I pulled it out. I pulled out the manual, and I just deflated. Like, I just got so demoralized. I was like, I can't read this. Like, I can't read this right now. And I put it away. And it was unfortunate.
It's a point salad combo-tastic game in many ways, like Mille Fiori. The difference is that Mille Fiori has teeth, where this one does not at all. To me, like, I don't have any authority or background on this, but I imagine what happened with this design was the other designer had an idea for a game, and it took a lot of inspiration from Ingenious and the tile placement of Ingenious. And so this designer went to Reiner and said, hey, I want to make this game. Can I have your blessing? And he's like, yeah, sure. And and that was Reiner's contribution to this game. And that's at least how it feels to me, because in many ways, there's not really much tension of decisions. You're kind of just doing what's optimal on your personal player board as you add these domino hexes together to score these combo-tastic turns. But it feels like anything you do is good, and so nothing matters because anything's going to get you points. And I don't know. I played it a couple times and like it was enjoyable both times, but I didn't want to play it again after that. I didn't need to play it or keep it around. So to me, this feels very un-Knizian in a lot of ways, and doesn't have the tension or the teeth that I come to expect from him, which is why it's a D tier Knizia for me. I know a lot of people love it. It's done very well in the market. So take that with a grain of salt what I'm saying about it. This is just my take on it.
Kind of speaking in that same vein for the next game, Yangtze for me is a very low D tier.
Same.
Because it's kind of like the most Knizia. You have set collection, you have auctions, you have an economic element, you have like events that happen randomly, which you might not think is a super Knizia thing, but Merchants of Amsterdam did that, and they did it significantly better. My biggest problem with Yangtze is that it just doesn't cohere in a way that feels good. The flow of the game is constantly interrupted by surprise auctions or surprise events that are all different events, and you have to look up the rules for them every single time. And then the auctions are like, well, I don't have any money, so do you want it? I don't want it. Okay, well, you're collecting those, so I guess you're getting it for free. Like, congratulations. And there's an interesting amount to love there, but it's just it's kind of like everything in the kitchen sink is what it feels like to me, and the flow of it really suffers because of it.
Yeah, for me, I was excited to try this because it's a newer big box Knizia auctioning game, right? But to me, in a lot of ways, that big box doesn't merit its size. It feels like it should be a smaller, lighter, filler type game. And a lot of the boxes air. Again, it's publisher Piatnik doing their trademark air-filled box, for better or worse. And to me, the auctions just didn't feel that fuzzy like they should in a good auctioning game. Like with Ra, you don't know when the round's going to end. So should I bid hard now or should I save my bidding power? With this one, it's like, well, I know how good that is for me, so I'll just bid this amount, whatever. And yeah, it kind of fell flat for me too. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't want to play it after the first play. So there you have it.
Okay. What was this one called again? This is the other iOS.
Yoku Gami. This is kind of like Candy Crush, but with math, with numbers. But you basically if you imagine a grid of squares, you can trace your finger in a straight line and zigzag however you want along these squares and branch out however you want. And you're trying to connect all these numbers together where all but one of the numbers add up to that other number. And then you eliminate them all from the grid. And so it's fun. It's like a fine, app game, but nothing too crazy or exciting, honestly. At the end of the day, there are a few different modes you can play. It's I'd say D tier. Yeah. So it's fine. It's free, so there's that. But
all right. Coming up next is Zamek or Carcassone the Castle. This for me is very much like I think for me this is low A tier. Or at least high B tier. It's two.
I think I had an A tier, so let's put it low A tier. Beautiful. Yeah.
It's two-player Carcassone with a really interesting closed area. And it takes one of the hallmarks of Carcassone, where you're scoring throughout the game to get your workers back to place them on new places. And it spices that up by putting bonuses on specific places on the score chart that is the border of the city that you're building. And if you land exactly on one of the two spaces that these bonus chips straddle, you get that, and it could be like, oh, you get an extra turn, or when you score this thing, you could score it 2 points instead of 1 point. It's just it's just so good. It's just so good.
It is. Yeah, I really love that element. Notably, I think Reiner might have leaned on that again, because that same element is in Cascadero, where you want to stop on something with your scoring exactly to earn the bonus, and if you pass over it, great, you're getting more points, but you're missing out on a really juicy bonus.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good. I had
It
played
is.
Carcassonne for a long time, and this was
Mhm.
like the core of the design is so interesting, and then just to Knizia-fy it is so great. Like,
It is. Yeah, I will happily play this anytime. It's such a good 2-player game. Unfortunately, it's hard to track down because Zamek is the current in-print version, which is overseas, and
Poland, baby.
yeah, so expensive. But that's how I got my copy, and I'm really happy to have it. It may not be worth the price I paid for it, but I'm very much a Knizia file, so this is my lot. This is my burden.
All right, the final in-print game. It's you, Mr. Publisher of Zoo Vadis.
This is so easy. This is gold tier. Gold tier for me, and I will fight tooth and nail for this because I think this is one of the best negotiation games ever designed. I'm very biased. I'm the publisher, okay? Once again, but there is no other negotiation game like this, and very few are as clean and elegant and spicy and interactive and open and free as this one. To me, you know, I talked about Quo Vadis, how I loved playing that game, and I do esteem it very highly. But basically, I researched, you know, 30 years worth of data on this game, Quo Vadis, and kind of found a few common threads of like, this is what's holding the game back for some people. I took that to Reiner, and then he took it from there. I made a few suggestions. I'm like, hey, maybe this could play better with more people. It seems like people prefer it with more players. So let's explore that. And then Sidereal Confluence is another favorite game of mine with the asymmetric negotiations. And so the thought was maybe there's some form of asymmetry we can introduce here. And he ran with that idea. And then same with, you know, some people say, or a lot of people don't like to play this at 3 players. It's a weak player count, right? Maybe we can introduce a neutral figure. And he cooked up the peacocks. Honestly, when he brought this rule set back to me months later, I was shocked, and I was like, oh my goodness, how did he pull this off? And I have played it so many times since then, and it's still one of my all-time favorite games. For me, this is a top 3 Knizia game out of the 140 or so Knizia games I've played up to this point. This is a top 3 game for me. It hasn't gotten old, and it plays well at all counts, in my opinion, and so I'll happily play it at any player count. Zoo Vadis, baby.
I haven't played as much as I want to, but like I think it's going to be in my collection forever. And I'm happy to be there, but I'm happy to let it into the gold tier if we graduate.
Yeah, it's time we revisit this, right?
Time we let them in, because we don't have any
I can live with that
of Reiner's like small card games in the gold tier, and I think that's like he's got the
that's
range.
A shame. Yeah.
And I think
that's fair.
Like Babylonia being top of the S tier, I think that's perfect. High Society and Schotten Totten, they deserve to be there. Like,
I can live with that. Those are I agree, 2 of his strongest card games ever designed, and easy recommendations, should be a bucket list item. I can live with that.
Okay.
So right on.
The last games are ones that have not been released and that we're just going to shoot
blind guessing.
Guessing. So let's go ahead and grab these, and then we can take a breath and look at the clock and realize how long it's been.
Yeah, I think people are going to break up this video a little bit for us if they actually power through it all.
This up,
yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Yeah. Anyways, At the Office, is that what this one's called?
Yep.
We have read a little bit about all these games. This game is, I mean, it's not easy on the eyes. I'll put it that way.
No, not at all.
And it's like a roll and write, right?
Something like that. I mean, honestly, maybe like top, low C, top D. That's what I'm.
Yeah, maybe there's something there, right? Maybe there's something there. I think top D. Well, I feel rude. We can put it low C. I always hope the best for any Knizia release from any publisher, but I'm not optimistic that this game in particular will be for me. Yep. We'll put it that way.
Havilandi. Honestly,
Havilandi.
This looks dope. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. It looks dope.
It's a tile placement game with a balloon going around the outside and a weird triangular hexagonal grid, and it looks cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
Cool. Malem, I'm pretty sure that's going to be his next. Dag nabbit. I do this sometimes. Where'd it go? Where'd I
Where'd it go? Oh, it's an A tier. Okay. It's an A tier.
Oh yeah.
That's where it belongs, right?
I'm so excited for this game because again,
you plopped it in S, and I'm like, whoa, that's. I mean, I hope.
I'm a shill for cats. My cats right now are like, hello, it's treat and playtime, like at 9 or 10 p.m. But like the push your luck dice play of this looks so interesting, and I want it to be good so bad because I want a fantastic Reiner Knizia cat game in my collection.
There are plenty of those, but no, I agree. So I saw this. The publisher whipped out a prototype of this for me at Gamma this year, and the more he showed me, the more excited I got. And I'm allergic to cats. To give you context, I don't have a cat bias. I don't have a cat in this race. But I think this has the potential to be one of his strongest, if not the strongest dice games. And I really hope it lives up to that potential and what it's showing. Cause it's like you're traveling in a spaceship and deciding when to bail out. And one person's the leader and they may be like, I'm bailing. And then you're the leader. Or they might be like, let's keep going. And then you'll all be like, yeah. And then your rocket ship just like explodes and burns, and then the people who jumped out right before that are just laughing at you, and it sounds so good. Honestly, I cannot. And the publisher was super excited too. He was like, Reiner's had some good games in the past, but he's really on fire now, and he's talking about this, so I'm excited. So
okay, and then finally, the Quest for El Dorado, Dragons and Treasures, the only upcoming expansion. For me, honestly, I don't have a ton of hope for this. I've read there's a review from someone in Poland.
Yeah, it's out in Poland already, right?
Dangers and Muisca were actually bundled together into one expansion. And the way that he talked about the components or the modules that it includes the one I'm most excited for are these tiles that are flipped down, face down at the beginning, and then when someone reaches them, they flip them face up and decide how to orient them, which I think sounds really cool. And worst case scenario is you have like little more tiles to do more cool map building things with, which is like great. It has dragons that people can't walk around when they're adjacent to them, and players can move them around. And then it has treasures that people collect, and it adds a secondary victory condition if you collect a certain number of them. And they could work. They didn't work for the one guy who wrote the review. I'm planning on buying it still just because I want to support Reiner. I think the system is amazing. If nothing else, I get more terrain tiles, which I will be more than happy about.
Yeah, there's a little bit of crossover between this and Dangers and Muisca. I think Reiner said he designed 3 expansions, and they split it up into like 1.5 each. So this is that other 1.5 that he designed. So I'm a little more optimistic than you. I think it'll at least be B tier. I mean, just look how gorgeous that is.
I mean, it is gorgeous.
So yeah, I'm hopeful. I pre-ordered it as well, so hopefully it turns out better than we expect.
So, and that's the tier list.
Ooh, wow.
Some concessions were made, some deals were struck. It was basically just an auction, long form auction. Yeah, obviously, of course.
As always. Man, what a list.
Man, I think halfway through I was like, are we going to take a break? And then I was just like, I'm good to keep going. Like, my bladder for the last 2 hours has been like, are you going to take a break? And I'm like, I'm fine. Totally good to go. Like,
yeah, we definitely went hard. That was a marathon sprint there. But no, that was a good time. I mean, we'll have to do this again when we hit 300 games, right? And do an 8-hour session of this, I suppose, where we re-rank everything, including the 150 new ones that Reiner has designed since.
Holy cannoli. I think this is probably the best time to be a Reiner Knizia fan because I truly believe in the Renaissance. We have a lot of upcoming games that are just rad. We've got reprints coming. We've got reprints of reprints coming. New designs,
spin-offs, all kinds of things.
Like, man, I'm so excited to just keep exploring. I'm also very excited to just like take a step back from acquiring new Reiner Knizias for a while.
Yeah, play some other games from other designers now that we're not pressured to play them all before this video, right?
Eldorado, you know, like
there it is. Yeah, revisit some, that too, for sure. No, yeah. Hopefully, those of you who joined us have enjoyed this journey, and you found some hidden gems that are worth seeking out. Again, we thank you for supporting us here at Bitewing Games as a publisher and as a fellow fan of Knizia games. Again, you know that there are some games lower on the list that probably disappointed some folks. But again, like we said, one gamer's trash is another gamer's treasure, right? And some of these are. It's cool to see how Reiner makes a game and it can be somebody's favorite game of all time, even if some of us are just shrug our shoulders at it. But yeah, you know, we currently have a Kickstarter going for Cascadero and Cascadito. We hope you'll support us. We are a small indie publisher and we cannot make this game without your help. And Scott and I love it. Okay. We played over 100 games and this is among our absolute favorites, right? So
look at this. Since it's up here in S tier, it's almost
beautiful
like at the top. I mean, they're all little children. But
they're all
yeah. Super excited for it.
And if you didn't catch the announcement, basically our next, including Cascadero Cascadito, our next 4 Kickstarter projects will all feature at least one Knizia game. So we're going hard on this. It is very much a renaissance for us. But we hope to, you know, share some of his best designs, both new and old, with many people. So thank you for joining this journey. Feel free to comment in the YouTube description, in the YouTube comments below about how wrong we were, and please no threats to our lives, but you can threaten our sanity, I suppose.
And if you want to make your own tier list with this same spread of games, like this is live, you can find it for yourself, you can make it for yourself, and show us just how wrong we were.
I love it. Well, thanks again for joining, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure. Maybe we'll join again for another video soon, but after we recover from this one.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight.